And as that trial gets underway, the French president is in Iraq. At a news conference with his Iraqi counterpart, Emmanuel Macron said the main challenges facing the country are a resurgence of Islamic State activity and foreign interference in the country's affairs. Macron's visit is the first by a Western leader to Iraq since Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi took office in May. In the last couple of months, France's Foreign Affairs Minister and Army Minister have also visited Iraq. Joining me now, France 24's expert on jihadi movements, Wassim Nasser. Wassim, as I just mentioned, President Macron there saying that one of the main challenges facing Iraq is the Islamic State group. Just how influential is it still in Iraq?
Well, and he's right. A few days ago, for the first time, the Islamic State issued a photo of a French military helicopter of Special Operation Forces operating in Iraq, since France is still committed, despite the COVID, on the ground with Iraqi forces. And if we see maybe the picture of this helicopter, we can see that it's the brand is Caracal, and it's only handled by Special Operations Forces, and here we see it. So it's the first time that it's captured by the Islamic State, EPIC, and it shows us they are active in this area of Dijla. And on the other hand, it shows us that the Islamic State is still present and still have some capabilities.
Tell us more about where exactly they're active then in the country.
Well, actually, they're active in mostly Sunni or mixed provinces, which excludes southern Iraq, and they are very active in an area, in a triangle, according to the information of late Hisham al-Hashimi for the Center of Global Policy in Washington. We see this map, and we see the areas in which they are mostly active, and the areas that they define as their sectors, and the blue dots are the rural areas surrounding major cities or towns where the Islamic State is putting a huge effort. And the effort is to regenerate the web that it had in the years by the late 2000s, which permitted him enabled him at least to act and to create its caliphate cross-border from Syria and Iraq. And their presence there is by submitting the civil population, in which they have still some support, and sustaining the link with Syria, which is very important. We have to look at Iraq and Syria as the same theater of operations for the Islamic State, which is the case also for Special Operation Forces of Western countries operating in a cross-border way. And a few days ago, for the first time, the Islamic State claimed an attack on Kurdish forces in Syria, and at the same time on the border control on the Iraqi side. So it was the same attack, showing us they are regaining in force and they are being able to sustain this insurgency on a cross-border basis. And we can say that they have three aims today, which are cutting the roads between provinces and main towns that we see on this map, creating many death triangles, as in Anbar or as in this region, northeast Diyala, southern Kirkuk, or eastern Salah ad-Din, where we can see that as far as 204 operations occurred in this triangle. And if you look at both Syria and Iraq, as I was saying, we can see that at the highest, they made 193 attacks in last May. This month, August, we are up to 139 attacks, and the lowest was in January, it was 88 attacks. So we see that they are going crescendo in their attacks, and they are targeting also local figures. So because by targeting local figures, by targeting people who work for the government, they are putting fear inside this population, which doesn't support the coalition in Syria anymore, or openly at least, and Iraq will be more and more reluctant to work with government forces. And one last thing which is helping in a way the Islamic State is the lack of measures in order to help the civilian population in these areas, which didn't happen after the war. We are seeing millions of people living in camps without any hope in the future. People are being prevented from going to schools. Some families are labeled as ISIS families, so they cannot go out of camps. And this problem is on both sides of the borders, in Syria and in Iraq.
All right, thank you, Wassim, for shedding some light on the context of Macron's visit to Iraq. Wassim Nasser, our expert on jihadi movements.